Okay, so I found this old drawing I did of Maddie. You know how Facebook does that whole memories thing? So it previewed this for me to share, and I'm like, I'm not going to share this. This is an old drawing, but I thought, hey, we could redraw it because my style has changed so much, and this is a blatant copy of a screenshot from the show, so I'm like, I can do better than that. Come on. We're going to basically trace over this old drawing and then, like, redraw it because I like the pose, I just don't like how the legs are working. The legs look stupid. Okay, so to answer your question, Daisy, oh my god, left leg, what's wrong? Why is it thin? This is why. This drawing is like 9 years old, so this is a redraw. We are going to redraw this piece. Retro equals old. Not necessarily. Retro is a style that emulates stuff from the past. Doesn't necessarily mean everything that's old. What's 20? Gonna do Christmas decorations? No. This is not my own apartment, so I can't decorate. How about everyone else? Have you guys got your Christmas decorations up yet? I mean, traditionally speaking, you're supposed to put them up 12 days before. That's what I've always done. But I know that Americans seem to just put their Christmas decorations up right after Thanksgiving, which is crazy to me. Fallout New Vegas is a brilliant game. It's just not a brilliant Fallout game to me. It's brilliant on its own, but the whole point of a Fallout game is to feel isolated and trying to survive. Whereas New Vegas, it's overpopulated to me. There's too many people in it, so I don't feel like I'm alone. So it doesn't really feel the same as, say, Fallout 3 did. See, Fallout 3 is my favourite one of the franchises. I need to replay the first two games. I haven't played them in a long time, but this is all just opinionated stuff, of course. I'm not telling you, like, because I think this, therefore you should. I'm just saying this is what I think. It's my channel, so I'm going to say what I think. I really liked the style of Fallout New Vegas. I loved the soundtrack. And the story is awesome. The gameplay is great. I love how short the beginning is in regards to tutorial, like learning how to play. It's so short. I love it. That's the only thing about the Fallout games, like apart from New Vegas, is that the intros are so long. Fallout 3 being the worst one, the intro to that is so drawn out. It takes forever to actually get going. They improved things a little bit with Fallout 4 with the intro where you're basically learning how, you know, the usual thing where it tells you how to move and how to use things, etc. before the Fallout happens, which was the first time that Fallout had done that. So I loved that, because then it just felt more tragic when you're going through the world because you've already seen it. You're already going through it knowing what it used to look like. So it just feels more personal instead of being thrown into a world that you're completely new to, like in Fallout 3, but that was part of the story. You'd never been outside a vault before. So it made sense with that. New Vegas introduction, you're shot in the face. Basically, yeah. Fallout 4 is more like, welcome to Boston, here's a pistol, go nuts. Fallout 4 is more like, a settlement needs your help. So you have a problem with your shoulders right now. But that's okay, we're just roughing things in right now. Proportions and placement can be fixed later. Are you caught up on the MLP Netflix series? You mean Make Your Mark. Yes, I watched the Christmas special the other day. I'm pretty much all caught up. I did make a video about my thoughts on it, so if you want to know more about what I think about it, please check out the video. Because of the YouTube algorithm and stuff, sometimes my stuff is just not noticed. You have to click the bell and subscribe and all this nonsense. So I'm like, okay, that's frustrating. What you drawing? I'm drawing Pony Maddie. I'm redrawing an old art piece. Let me move this down so people can actually see it. I didn't realize my camera was hiding it. Let me move this down here. It needed Wendigos. Not necessarily. Oh, okay, I see. You're drawing anime girls more interesting than it was to draw ponies. If you want to draw anime, fine, go right ahead, but I'm like, I admire people that can draw anime like on a high skill level, but for me, I'm not drawing in an anime style. That's not for me. I think, like, if you're going to draw anime, you are... I mean, obviously there's lots of different subgenres of anime, but to me, this is my opinion, so please take it with a grain of salt, or a pinch of salt, or whatever. For me, I personally think that you're basically emulating a style that already exists and not developing your own style when you draw anime. So that's just what I think. I'm not saying it's bad, I'm just saying that that's why I don't do it. She looks like she's being put in a sarcophagus. A little bit, yeah, I can see that. Would you be surprised to hear that Strange World looks like it is going to lose Disney money? It's not lost Disney money. What it is that it hasn't been advertised as much as other movies have, and there's... I mean, the reasons for that are very ambiguous, so they're not pushing it as much as, say, they did in Kanto or Frozen or whatever. And I mean, some movies catch waves and some don't. This one didn't, and it's not that it's losing money, it's that it didn't make the profit that it was expected to make. And that's not necessarily losing money, that's losing profit. But in regards to, am I surprised about Strange World not being as popular as it should have been because it's Disney's newest? Not really. I'm really not. And from what I've seen of it, it didn't really get me excited. I just wasn't interested. And I think maybe a lot of people just weren't bothered about it because maybe Strange World was too strange for Disney. I don't know. Okay, so Joey has seen Strange World and he says it's actually not too bad. It's not like earth-shatteringly amazing, but it's pretty good. Disney is at a point where it can't fail. Precisely, it's a monopoly. If it's basically making movies in God mode. Yeah, this is the thing. Like, I haven't seen Strange World, but I have seen that people are comparing Strange World to Treasure Planet, and from what I've read and what I've heard people say, there's a lot of very similar science fiction adventure movie tropes in Strange World that was in Treasure Planet. And strangely enough, Treasure Planet was a failure, but now has, like you said, a cult following, so maybe the same thing will happen with Strange World. Like, it will get a following once it's finally on Disney+. You can never predict what movies are going to be successful and what ones aren't, and success doesn't necessarily automatically make it an amazing movie. Like, I think nowadays people put too much emphasis on box office numbers and say if, you know, the higher they are, then that somehow means it reflects the artistic value. Not literally, I mean, like, figuratively speaking, the artistic value of a movie is reflected by how much money it makes at the box office. And I remember there's a movie called The Holiday, and there's a quote from someone in that movie that is a retired writer, I believe, for Hollywood, Oscar winning. And one of the things he says at the end of the movie is that, you know, movies, like the box office is reported like baseball game results now, you know, or something to that effect. I'm paraphrasing here, but ever since I heard that, I'm like, you are so right. It is so much like, this movie made this much money, this movie made that much money, and it's never about this movie did this for the art industry, this movie did this for the art industry, you know, like it's not, people don't really talk about that anymore in regards to advertising. It's always about, this movie made this much money, therefore you should go and see it. And I'm like, I don't really think that that should sway people. I know it does, you know, money makes the world go round. as much as we hate that fact, it's very true. But I'm just, I'll probably watch it eventually. Strange World, just from what I've seen of the advertising, I was like, not all that bothered. Box office and tomatoes mean nothing to me. Okay. Seen Disenchanted yet? Yes, and I loved it. I just wish that it had more blatant references to Disney villains from the 90s. Like, the original had so many references to the Disney princess tropes that were so on point even. Like, even certain frames were done to emulate scenes like from Cinderella and Snow White and all that. This one, from my memory, like even in the original, they referenced the scene of when Maleficent transformed into a dragon. They did it almost exactly the same. And I just wish they had more moments like that in the sequel. I also wish that, I really don't want to spoil things here, but there's a villain in Disenchanted which I really wish that she was originally from where Giselle was, you know? Like, like, the same thing happened to her that happened to Giselle. She stumbled into the real world, and then when Giselle came and brought magic back, she suddenly remembers that she's from there, and then she becomes a villain, and it's basically who she would have been if she was still in Andalasia, but it's live action. I wish they went down that route instead, but I also feel like, I really don't want to spoil things, but it's in the trailer, you know, that Giselle starts to slowly turn into an evil stepmother, and I wish that transformation wasn't figurative. I wish they went, so you remember in 102 Dalmatians when Cruella transformed back from, she was Ella then Cruella, she actually went through a Jekyll and Hyde transformation, like her nails and shoulders, like the transformation was painful, and part of me wishes that it was more like a Jekyll and Hyde thing, like a literal physical change, but instead of just a mental change. I mean, the acting from Amy Adams was, if that's the right actress name, the actress that plays Giselle, she was amazing. I loved that. I just wish that there was a more physical element to her transformation. I'm also of the opinion that the costumes in the movie were so amazing, they were distracting me from the story quite badly, and I think that's a problem when your costumes actually distract from the story. Like, a perfect example of this not happening is in Cruella. The costumes reflect and carry the plot, whereas this one kind of buried the plot, you know? And maybe that was just my experience of it, but, you know, I loved the movie. There's just some things I wish they just tilted it a little bit, you know? And wish they didn't have the chipmunk talk. When I saw that in the trailer and I was like, no, he talks in this one? No! It was one of the funniest things in the original, when the chipmunk went to the real world and he didn't talk. That was great. But he talks in this one and I'm like, no! Why did you do that? Why? Why do this to us? Why torture us? I was the same way with Mars Needs Moms and John Carter. I watched them with family, enjoyed them, and did not know why people did not like them. Mars Needs Moms was an awful movie because of the awful motion capture and the story just not making any sense, and the design of the aliens was so off-putting. It was just a very uncanny valley movie, and that's why most people did not like Mars with Moms, and most of this motion caps offer has its place. I just don't think it should be used to make an entire movie. Have I heard of Pixar's Element? Yes, I saw the teaser trailer for it. So, from what I've seen, like, the animation for the elements, the characters, I mean, not the element itself, the characters made of the elements, I'm like, that's a really cool idea, but again, it's Pixar going, what if such and such had feelings? So now we're doing elements. And a lot of people are like guessing what the plot's going to be, and they're like, oh, the flame and the water guy, they're going to fall in love, but they can't be together because they're opposite, and it's going to be like a Romeo and Juliet kind of thing. And I'm like, well, let's wait and see what the plot's going to be, and not jump to conclusions too fast. I mean, that's just the teaser, so let's wait and see. This lag is bothering me. I know it's not correct, but that's okay. We can fix things later. What is the closest Maddie and Mary have ever come to an actual fight breaking out between them? They fight all the time, so they're always on the verge of like a proper fisticuff fight, but they would never get to that point, because if they did, you know who would win? Mary would win by default because she's Mary Sue. So the arguments and fights between them are always verbal. I mean, there's been some videos I've done where Mary like changes Maddie's hair color to pink and all sorts. So she'll go all like Disney movie magic logic on Maddie, but I don't think they would ever get any close to a real fight. They love each other, really, platonically speaking. Ooh, have we got an art stream? Yes, we've got an art stream! Thank you for the Young Ones reference. The Young Ones is a British television sitcom from the 80s, which is one of my, if not my top favourite thing that British television has ever done. And I try to reference it whenever I can. So when I come across someone that is also into it, and I just discovered recently when I was at Ponyville Cider Fest a few weeks ago that Silverquill is a huge Young Ones fan. So we were at dinner one night and we were just quoting Young Ones at each other the whole time. So the people that were having dinner with us were just so like, what's going on? And we were like, just go with it. Just go with it. It's British TV comedy. I mean, it's like, in my opinion, way funnier than anything Monty Python ever did. I mean, it's very heavily influenced by Monty Python stuff, but this was more, in my opinion, groundbreaking for British TV. Okay, so the proportions on this character on Maddie right now are way off. The legs need to be a lot bigger, but I'm just adding in the details right now, like the hat and the hair, before we start going into fixing things properly. I like that you made Mary Sue into a character. She's funny, and it's fun when Mary and Maddie pick on each other and goes at each other. Yeah, I really need to bring Mary back. The problem that I have is that a lot of Mary's personality was, I'm not saying she was like her whole personality was based on her, but a lot of moments that Maddie and Mary have are inspired by moments I had with my sister, and my sister sadly died in 2020. No, it wasn't COVID, it was cancer. So when I'm writing for Mary and Maddie, it used to be that I would go back to remembering things that happened between me and her. So writing for Mary has become really difficult. So trying to bring her back, I think I brought her back for the my video I posted last month, Where is My Little Pony Going? And we had some comedy skit at the beginning, and some of you will have noticed that Mary has much more of a sarcastic side to her now, and she's kind of lost the Valley Girl vibe that she had years ago, and she's gotten more sophisticated over the years, which I like, but at the same time, a character like Mary is such a big and loud character that she overshadows Maddie a lot, so I try not to use Mary too much if I can help it. But now I've kind of not used her enough, so I need to bring her back because people love her and they miss her, and they miss seeing Maddie and Mary interact as much as they used to. So hopefully now that things are a little bit more settled after my immigration, we might be able to get going with more content on a regular basis. I've got traditional commissions that I did at Pony Cider Fest that I need to mail out, and that's taking some time because I'm still getting used to where I'm living now. Maddie is turning into Fievel. The hat is actually inspired by Fievel's hat from that movie, so that's kind of where the hat came from. The hat is an entity all its own. It really is. The hat has always been a part of Maddie's design from the beginning, even before she was a Dooney. Originally, Maddie was actually an anthro cat. Then she was human. Then she has a pony version, obviously, but then she has a Dooney version, and the Dooney version has gone through several different designs. The Dooney version is not all that much different from her human design. She's just the proportions have changed over the years. Okay, so you have earring right here. No, the hat is not inspired from Mario. Maybe the color might be, but I mean, Mario and Fievel's hat, they're both red, so yeah. You're super excited for Babs, you get to see your sister again. You do! And I'm looking forward to that. I just hope that we've got time to hang out. We'll see what happens. There'll be a few people that will want to hang out as well, so I have to kind of try my best and and I can't please everybody is what I'm trying to say. So I really need to book my flights for that though, or at least one of them anyway. You get 30 seconds. Yeah, take a number. God. Okay, so at this con, I'm hoping to be vending. I'll be doing panels probably. I usually am part of the TF2 panel at cons, so I'll be doing that. And if I'm a community guest, I really want to do a panel, an updated version of the importance of staying creative. Yeah, I really want to do that one again and just change things up a little bit and make things a bit more interactive than the original version of that panel was really fun, but I really just want to, if I do it again, I don't want it to be the same thing. No, don't fight. I haven't seen Dusty. You've seen Dusty more than I have. I haven't seen Dusty since 2019, and that was basically a very brief high during vendor setup. And that was it. I never saw him again for that whole convention. So I really want to try to see him again next year. What did you think of the new Mario movie trailer? Okay, so there's different versions of the new Mario movie trailer because you've got obviously the English version, there's the Japanese version. There's so many. There's a Mexican one, and there's all sorts which have little snippets from the movie that aren't in the English one. And I know people are so up in arms about the voice acting. And I'm just like, it's really interesting to me. I tweeted about this the other day, that, oh, people are so peeved about Mario's voice and Chris Pratt's voice for Mario, and because they're like, it should be the original voice. How dare it not be the original voice? And then the trailer was released, and then we heard Peach's voice, and I'm like, well, that's not the original voice either. Why are people not up in arms about that? About how Peach's voice is not the original. And I'm like, this seems like a double standard to me. Yeah, I mean, the original voice for Mario, his name escapes me right now, but I remember seeing a tweet from him saying that he didn't really care that he wasn't voicing Mario. So I'm like, okay, if he doesn't care, then neither should we. Yeah, but anyway, apart from all that crap, am I excited for the movie? Absolutely. It looks bloody brilliant. It looks so amazing. I'm so excited for it. And this is someone that didn't really... I only played like the very first Mario and then Super Mario 3, and that was it. I didn't really play any other Mario games. I remember watching some of the cartoon, I can't remember which one, and that is pretty much it. So I wouldn't really call myself a huge Mario fan, but the movie in itself, regardless of it being a Mario movie, I can't believe that a movie that looks that good came from Illumination. It's like Illumination to me, it's like, oh, they did Despicable Me and Minions and Secret Life of Pets and all that, you know, pandering to the lowest denominator. They're like, oh, and then Sing, and, you know, it's like, what do people like? They like home videos of pets doing stupid stuff. They like reality TV shows and singing contests and all that kind of stuff, and then they kind of merged animals and that into Sing. But then Sing 2 came along, and I'm like, holy hell, this is great, I love this. So then after seeing that movie, I'm like, they're doing the Mario movie, it better be on par with this movie in regards to its production value, because the cinematography in Sing 2 is some of the best I've ever seen in an animated movie, ever. Just, it's amazing. And so what I've seen for Mario, I'm like, well, that is pretty much exactly what I'm hoping for. Yeah, people bring up Sonic. Oh my god. The thing, why is it that, this is just a minor rant here because this is my experience of the Sonic fandom. You can talk about anything at all with a Sonic fan and they will somehow make the conversation about Sonic. And it's like, you'll be talking about Mario and then they'll be like, well, remember what happened with Sonic? And I'm like, what does that have to do with this though? I know there's a constant like marriage between Mario and Sonic and regarding their history, but I'm like, can we not just talk about Mario without constantly bringing Sonic into it? I'm like, ugh. It's so annoying. That's my rant over. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. How is that a rant? I'm gonna just draw in her eyes because she looks kind of possessed right now, so just gonna add her eyes in, even though they're gonna be covered up later. There we go. There, now you have And emoting Maddie. Sometimes it's just nice just to go back to drawing pony stuff, and I mean, that's not what I started out doing, but it's the most popular stuff on my channel is usually pony related, so isn't Maddie a Dooney though? Same thing with Mary not being an alicorn. Okay, so Maddie is a Dooney, she has a pony form. Mary Sue started as an alicorn, but she has a human form. So Mary Sue can be anything she wants because she's Mary Sue, but primarily speaking she's an alicorn, usually. I've made several videos about what Maddie is, and she is a Dooney, which is a Scottish fairy that has a humanoid form and a horse form. They are a Scottish fae that have the ability to appear as humanoid, and they have a horse form. They also have an old hag form. Maddie doesn't have an old hag form, but you know, when she's in the TF2 series, she has a lion form, which isn't technically canon for my channel, it's only canon for TF2 Analysis Anarchy stuff, but I am considering bringing that into my channel. I'm thinking about it. I'm just trying to think how. You need the lore. Or how about a comic instead of a book? How's that? It's something I've really wanted to do for the longest time, is a Maddie Mary comic, but I don't want it to be an MLP thing. I want it to be my own original thing. And my concern with that is, would it get the same attention if it was just its own thing, separate from MLP? Would people still be bothered about it or not? I don't know. A part of my brain says no, which scares me. Oh, Maddie, I found Dave. He's not happy with you. Dave, yeah, people will find Dave in episode 3 of my Fallout playthrough. Dave is the name we have given to the death claw that we encounter, and because Frost is one of the mods in the Discord server, he's been able to watch us play live, which you guys can do if you join the Discord server, which there is a link for that in the description below. If you support me on Patreon, you can join my Discord server and you can join calls while I play games, and the game that we're playing right now is Fallout 4, and I've been recording the videos, so we will encounter Dave in episode 3. Do you think G5 should incorporate more folklore and mythology? Okay, so I think what you're saying is, like, G4 was all about the lore and the mythology of MLP because it was re-establishing itself, and G5 is basically riding the coattails of that. So I don't think G5 is... I don't think it's fair to constantly compare G5 to G4, although that's going to happen anyway because it's based in the same world as G4 is, and MLP has never done that before. Every single reiteration has been its new separate thing. It's not really been connected other than in theme. This is literally in the same world. So it's kind of trying to be G4 but also G5. It's trying to have its own mythos, which is very problematic with its writing. I mean, I talk about this a lot in my video, Where is My Little Pony Going? So you can check that out. Okay, so now you need your scarf. So let's just add your scarf right here. That looks okay so far for a redraw of that pose. G5 to me is, it's not able to be its own thing because it's tied to G4, and that's the biggest problem I have with it. If it could just be its own thing and not be connected to G4, then it wouldn't have so many problems with its writing. But at the same time, the fans simultaneously push for it to be its own thing, but also want it to reference a past series. Yeah, that's basically what I'm saying. But at the same time, the fans would complain about it being its own thing and complain about it not being G4. They will constantly compare it to G4 because G4 was the best reiteration of MLP and the most popular since G1. So there's always going to be that regardless. So yeah, It's always going to be that way. What are we doing? We are basically redrawing this old pose of Maddie I found. I have a problem with G4 and G5. At the end of G4, Twilight was old but still had her magic, but in G5, Twilight was young when she made the crystals in the pot. Not the magic in them. Yeah, a lot of people have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with it so much because it's CG, so they're going to make the model basically the same as all the other models instead of making an alicorn like G4 model. It just wouldn't fit. So the most important thing was for Twilight's face to be instantly recognizable, and for that they needed to go with the so-called normal Twilight, so that's why they did that, in my opinion. I think people get too hung up on the lore and don't think about the practicalities in regards to animation. As far as I know, the writers for G5 are a completely new set of writers than G4. I think it's taking so long to get itself established, and the only one that seems to be interested in the plot of it is Zip. Zip should be the main character. I don't really care about Sunny, and I think that's another problem, is that they haven't really... There's no one steering the ship. Sometimes it's Sunny, sometimes it's Zip, and I'm like, just pick one. Who is the main character? To me, Zip should be the main character. She's far more interesting than Sunny is. The hat doesn't really have a name, it's just called the hat. There's nothing special about it. It's just a hat. But it's special because it's Maddie's hat. Therefore it's best hat. There is no secret ingredient. There's nothing special about it. It doesn't have any like magical powers or anything. It's just a hat. No, Izzy is very much the comic relief. She should not be the main character. Save your work, kids. I've totally been saving as I've been working on this. Honest. Save your work, kids. Saving is magic. Reloading is magic. That's another thing that will come along in the Fallout series eventually. Can you imagine if the MLP writers decided to go the Roger Rabbit route of incorporating real humans? I can, because real humans were part of G1 and G2, so yes. Can you picture Grogar, the real Grogar, not Discord, in G5? Because G5 is based in the real world as G4, I'm going to say no. But I would really like to see the real Grogar in MLP. Not necessarily in G5, maybe in the next reiteration, I don't know. In the plan of new villains for G5, I would really wish to see dark versions of Twilight Reborn, the Midnight. Yes, she was in Equestria Girls 3, but she's still a nice look. Okay, so there was a fan theory that Opaline was a nightmare version of Princess Flurryheart. And I thought that was a really interesting fan theory, but I know that the comics kind of obviously vetoed that, but that would be pretty cool. I really like that G5 has an alicorn villain. I really love that idea. If they bring another villain in, I don't want it to be just another alicorn villain. That would kind of be boring to me. Do you think Cozy Glow should have redemption, or she deserves an eternal stone punishment? Eternal stone punishment. Eternal stone punishment, regardless of age. I just think, even though she's a little kid, I'm like, no, she was evil. She was really evil. There was something seriously wrong with that kid. No, she would not be reformed. A bit of an extreme punishment, yeah, sure, but like, I find deception and fooling your own race far worse than anything the other villains did. Now, I think if she had like a guardian, then that would be a different story. Then, you know, someone that was manipulating her into doing the stuff that she was doing, then fine, she wouldn't deserve that punishment, but she did all that stuff on her own. So I'm like, there's something seriously wrong with that child, so Eternal punishment. Encased in stone. That seems to be the go-to punishment, either eternal imprisonment in Tartarus or eternal stone statue. 1 million years dungeon. I've missed a line. Yeah, okay. Does anyone even know why Cozy Glow became a villain in the first place? No, and that's the disturbing thing. We don't know what happened to her to cause her to be a villain. We don't know. And the not knowing, it's like, who hurt you, child? Who hurt you? That is the more disturbing thing. That something happened to her to cause her to be that way, or was she just born evil? That's the question. I love the eyebrows. Like, the eyebrows, they're like, yes, we know the hat is in front of the eyebrows, but we're just going to have the eyebrow be visible in front of everything. It's all about expression. Expression is the most important thing. Logic? Pfft, nah. Almost there with the line work, and then we can start colour. Yeah, they weren't proper Kelpies. The ones in DuckTales. I think, to me, the coolest design and concept for Kelpies that I've seen is in God of War 2. God of War Ragnarok, sorry. The design for the Kelpie in that video game was so cool. Cool. Alright, how does that look so far? We need to add the sunglasses, which I am going to do shortly. I just want to bring in the colour ref first before I move any further. The God of War series, I've never played it, but I've watched Let's Plays of it, and I love the two new games. I need to watch Let's Plays of the originals. Well, we are going to add her sunglasses now. And I really think that the sunglasses shouldn't cover her eyes too much, because I really like how expressive she is. So I'm going to make the glasses kind of transparent. I'm definitely not the best drawer out there, but I appreciate the sentiment, but I still have a lot to learn. Oh, she's wearing her hat backwards in the original drawing. Okay, that's interesting. So I think I need to make the top of the glasses bigger. I don't love it. I really don't, but it's what's going to work for now. Why does Maddie look like a hipster? Have you met me? I am a hipster, pretty much. Good lord. No, I'm more like a punk rockabilly, but eh. Ah, that's the wrong thing. Come on. There we go. In your opinion, what is the worst movie that centers around Scottish history? You know, Braveheart is one of the worst movies that Hollywood has ever made. Never mind how inaccurate it is to Scottish history, it's just such a bad movie. But that is what people think of when they think of Scottish history, that so many times when people discover I'm Scottish, they're like, oh my god, you're Scottish, I loved Braveheart. Great. I'm glad you enjoyed the movie. What's that got to do with me? There's not a single scene from that movie that was filmed in Scotland. It was all filmed in New Zealand, and there was only one Scottish actor in the whole movie. And the funny thing is, he was actually told his Scottish accent wasn't accurate. Everyone else was either American or Irish. So, so the one Scottish actor was told your accent isn't accurate enough. Well, it's not just the battle scenes, just everything about it. It's just it over romanticizes Scottish culture, which I really hate. But in other things about the movie being so bad, there are scenes in there that have cars and planes in the background. If you rewatch the movie, you will see what I'm talking about. There is an actual plane in the sky in one of them, and you can see some boom mics in some scenes and stuff, and inconsistencies rather, in regards to the costumes and stuff. So bad. I mean, you can say that about any movie. Any movie has some inconsistencies in that regard, but this one in particular is pretty bad. We can still see her eyes coming through a little bit, but I'd like it to be a bit more, so I'm going to bring this down further. Yeah, the whole mooning scene, yeah, there's always this running gag whenever a Scottish person is depicted in a movie, there has to be a kilt joke in there. And the thing is, kilts aren't exclusively related to Scots. I mean, like, you know, Irish people were kilts, Germans, and the kilt originated from Africa originally, so it's not a exclusive Scot thing. For some reason, Hollywood has to make a kilt joke. I mean, they did it in Brave several times, and, well, not several times, maybe twice, but it was still more than enough to annoy me, and I'm sure other people. There's this animated film called Sir Billy that's oh yeah, don't get me started on that thing. Although I love Saberspark, he's my second favourite YouTuber, and he is such a nice guy. And he, you know, he is such a hardworking YouTuber. I really admire him for that. I made a point of saying that to him at Ciderfest, and I'm like, kudos to you for keeping up the momentum, because I know how difficult it is to keep doing that. I mean, okay, he has a crew to help him do that, but it must be so difficult to constantly try to be in that mode where you have to post this video and you have to be at this level of energy to do it. And he must feel so bad when he has to say, look, this video is not going to be ready in time. And I'm like, dude, don't be so hard on yourself. A video will get done when it's done. You know, life happens. YouTube is not life. YouTube is a supplement. It's a part of life for people that are YouTubers full time, but it shouldn't be the only thing, you know? And if there's lots of other YouTubers that I follow that I don't know how they keep going with it every day. I really don't. I mean, I try, but I'm like, no, I get bored. I can't sit and stare at computer screens all day, every day. I just can't do it. I mean, there are days when I do that because I have to. I'm an editor for Dr. Wolf's stuff and a few other things, my own stuff, obviously. So I am kind of in front of screens a lot, but that's just part of the job. Saber is the man. He is an inspiration. Preach. And I met AC Racebest at Ciderfest. I admit I don't follow his stuff, but I know him for the stuff he's done for the MLP fandom, and he's a really nice guy too. Like both Saber and AC Racebest, they're really down to earth guys. It's like what you see on their channels is exactly what you get when you meet them in person. They're not performing, that's who they are, and I really like that. I mean, there's nothing wrong with having a persona for your channel, but I really like it when there's no difference between the person you know online and the person that you meet in real life. They're just the same person. I like that. I like it when people are authentic and they have a level of segregation between who they are online and who they are in real life. But I also appreciate it when people have an off switch. Like, there's some YouTubers I know that I am very close to that have an off switch. And you know when you're talking to the person they are in real life and the person they are on YouTube. They know when to switch it off, and I admire that. For me, I try to... Like Maddie is basically an exaggerated version of myself, but when I'm at conventions, I just try to be me. But you do get a certain point where your energy level is so low, you do have to perform. And conventions, I am an introvert. Conventions take a lot out of me, especially if I'm vending and doing panels and all sorts of other stuff. It's exhausting. Conventions are work. They're fun, but for people that do panels and vend, it's not a vacation. We are there to work. We are there for networking, meeting fans that support us, meeting them in person. Like meeting people in person that follow your content, it's so valuable because it can really encourage you to keep going with it, because it's so hard when, especially because of all the lockdown stuff and you haven't been able to go to conventions for so long. so you don't have that interaction with fans anymore. So when you go to cons, it's like, I mainly go so that I can meet people that watch my content, or if I'm going to a con that someone is there that I watch their content, then I can be like, hey, thanks for doing all you do, because I know your pain. Oh man. If there was an MLP rap battle, who do you think would win, Izzy or Pinky? Ooh, no, now these are the questions I live for. Who would win a rap battle, Izzy or Pinky? I would argue that Izzy would win purely because she has unicorn advantage. But then Pinkie Pie has fourth wall breaking advantage. No, I think Pinkie Pie would win because of the fourth wall breaking. You know, people would be like, hey, why don't you just use the select tool and do it that way like you did with the glasses? I don't know. I'm an idiot, that's why. Sometimes doing things the old-fashioned way, like I'm doing right now, it's more therapeutic than just taking the shortcuts, using the fill tool and stuff. Yeah, we could do that. We could also use an AI and just like generate it that way. Have an AI do it. I'm joking. Don't quote me on that. Alright, opposite question. What's your favourite Disney direct-to-video sequel? Mine's Cinderella 3. I think my favourite has to be Lion King 2, and Cinderella 3 is a very close second. Lion King 2 was just a really good movie to me. But more to the point, like the first Lion King is basically Moses or Hamlet, and then the sequel was Romeo and Juliet. So I'm like, Shakespeare with lions. Lion King 2 fits that perfectly. Cinderella 3, it's a good movie, but it feels more like Disney's trying to do what Wicked did with Wizard of Oz. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, I just wish they pushed it a bit further. I love what the Cinderella 3 did with the prince. That was brilliant. Lady and the Tramp 2 was cute, but like, production-wise, it was so stylistically different from the original, I just couldn't get on board with it. Like, visually speaking, it's the same, but they had the dogs singing, and I'm like, they didn't sing in the original. So, like, there was like a choir in the background, and they did have one scene in The Pound where the dogs sing, but that was the only scene, if my memory serves me, that's the only scene where they sung. There's a song that Lady sings when she's going upstairs to meet the baby, but it's all in her head. And so the mouth doesn't sing. And in the sequel, they just had all of the dogs singing. And you saw the humans' faces. And that wasn't really a thing in the original. You saw like Aunt Sarah's face and the dog catcher's face and the police constable and the vicar and that, but you didn't see Jim Deere and Darling. In the sequel, you do. And I'm like, nope. Nope. Looking good so far. Save your work, kids. So, Maddie, I have been planning to become a reviewer, and I have been studying your Brony analysis community videos. Any advice for this newbie? Don't start out doing MLP. I didn't start out doing MLP. I actually started out doing analysing Disney movies and TV shows and stuff like that. My channel's most popular content is MLP. It's a common misconception that people only know me for that, therefore they think that's all I do. That's not all I do, and it's not how I started either. So my main advice to you is, if you want to start reviewing stuff, don't just focus on one franchise. Just focus on what you enjoy. If you enjoy MLP, then review MLP. If you enjoy, I don't know, Batman stuff, then do that. If you enjoy Disney stuff, do that. Don't put yourself in a box. You can look at whatever you want. Just because there is a community for one particular franchise, don't ever just put yourself in one box. That so many reviewers within the MLP fandom have found themselves stuck in a box that they can't and won't branch out into anything else. And I'm like, branch out into other stuff, please. I know from personal experience it's better that way. I mean, find your niche by all means, but don't just stick with one thing. I planned to do MLP, but also Pokemon, Godzilla, etc. I even want to do my own discussion vids and review the things I grew up with from my childhood. Well, it sounds like you have a good idea on what you want to do, so go for it. I think the main thing about being a reviewer is people don't realise how much work goes into making a review video, like your script and stuff. When you're reviewing something, you're not just talking about what happens, you're talking about your thoughts and feelings on it. And that's the thing that I've seen a lot of people get hung up about. They spend too much time explaining what a show is doing instead of how they feel about it. So that's the problem I had at the beginning as well. It took me a minute to figure that out as well. So yeah. I know I said not to stick to one thing, to branch out and do lots of things, but try not to do too many things as well. For starting out, just keep things simple. Keep things very simple, if and where possible. I'm just talking from personal experience, like when you try to branch out away from one thing, you want to talk about all the things, but it's like people will want to talk about things that are popular, and I'm like, well, don't talk about things that are popular, talk about things that you like. It doesn't matter if they're popular or not, because people have been asking me, hey, make a video about the Owl House or Amphibia or whatever, and I'm like, I don't really want to do that. I like the shows and maybe I will talk about them eventually, but it's not really sitting with me. Like, I've not been inspired enough to talk about it in video format, so I'm just not going to do it. You don't have to make a video about everything you watch, and even if you do get inspired about something, you might miss the boat. So I've just decided I'm not going to pressure myself to keep up with what's popular. I'm just going to talk about what I like. It's one of the reasons why I started my Fallout series. I love Fallout, so I'm like, hey, let's start a video series on Fallout. Let's just play Fallout, let's do that. It also serves a purpose. It means that I'm able to get content out on a regular basis that I don't have to write for. I can just I can record the video, edit down the playthrough and post it and add some funny edits here and there, and that's it. It's so much fun, and I got to the point, especially last year, where making videos, it was a chore. I found that I was forcing it, and that's why, one of the reasons why I didn't have an awful lot of content out, because I was forcing it, and it shouldn't be forced. I'm just trying to make sure that I have inner peace with myself, and when I'm making content, I'm not just doing it to fill a quota. I'm doing it because I enjoy it, and if I don't enjoy it, then it's just time to take a break and just recollect. Maybe the want to do it will come back later. Maybe the practicalities just weren't sitting right, so therefore you couldn't do it, or you got too obsessed with like having the right equipment and all that kind of stuff, and you're like, it's not about equipment, it's about commitment. Because I know people say, oh, you should never record on a phone. I'm like, why not? If that's what you've got, use it, and you can invest in a mic further down the road. Use what you've got first. I mean, I started out with a really cheap USB mic or headset thing that was awful. And then when I was committed to it, that's when I decided, hey, I'm going to buy a better mic now, and just build things up from there. I mean, I started making videos using Windows Movie Maker. My early videos were made with Windows Movie Maker. Some of my favorite YouTubers use iMovie, and they record on their phone because that's what they've got, and that's fine. I mean, there's a YouTuber I watch who makes videos about his collection of exotic animals and stuff, and he films it all on his iPhone. He doesn't have a mic, he doesn't have a tripod or anything, he just uses his phone. If you have a smartphone, you're halfway there, just use it. There's thing about, oh, you can't do that unless you have a mic. I'm like, no, having the right mic and the right computer and the right video topic and all that crap. I'm like, no, if you like a thing and you want to talk about it, you have a phone, do it. Don't worry about it being like on the same quality level as another YouTuber that's been doing it for years. You're never going to be them. Just do what you can at that moment and educate yourself on how to edit a video, what software to use, what you can use on the budget you currently have. Don't fork out hundreds of dollars on an editing software when you don't even know how to use iMovie. Learn the basics first, keep things simple, and then branch out into more sophisticated software and hardware. I mean, when I started making videos, I didn't even have my own computer. I was using someone else's laptop, you know, or a laptop that belonged to someone else and was given to me, so it wasn't even mine. Some like YouTubers don't even use their own voice. They get someone else to say their lines, or they'll use like a text-to-speak generator like Charlie or Dinoco just said. You can use that. Who says you can't? Why not? And obviously, like, when people are doing voiceover work professionally, then yes, use a proper mic for that, because you're trying to get into voice acting, so then yes, you do need to invest into a proper mic and a popping filter, etc. But if someone is telling you, oh, you can't do that until you have this, I'm like, that's a load of bullcrap. Like, come on. You can wait around for the right thing to come along, and I'm like, what are you waiting for? I know I'm sounding like the John Cena meme right now, but whatever. Use what you've got. It's like people that are wanting to go to the gym and stuff. Some people, they'll buy all the right equipment or all the wrong equipment sometimes, but if they're not committed, then all that stuff is going to sit in a closet gathering dust. And I think creativity is the same. You have to exercise your creativity. You have to keep up the momentum. And to do that, you do need to use what you've got. It doesn't have to be a computer. It doesn't have to be a Wacom Cintiq. It could just be pen and paper, whatever. I mean, you can draw on like gaming consoles now. So if you have that, do that. Or draw on your phone, or draw on the wall, draw on the sand, draw on dirt. I don't care. Just do it. You know, what's stopping you? Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. We have come to the philosophical part of the live stream. Draw on dirt, Mad Munchkin 2022. Okay, so the flat color is done here. So there's the line work, there's the color. Put them together, and what have you got? We should do an art piece similar to this, but it's Mary, and she's wearing those kind of glasses, like with the plastic like lines through them, like the really 90s glasses, the really bad 90s glasses that Izzy wears in that sequence.